it's Misty. Long time no see. Oh my word, it's been forever since I filmed a weigh-in video. I have so much to share with you. If you watched my Posh Talk Thursday, you've kind of heard some of this, but I wanted to really give you a rundown of where I've been the last 4 months. I believe that's the last time I posted a video, and kind of where I'm at in my weight loss journey. So if you're new to my channel, I started a weight loss journey in January of 2016. Actually, I started it last year, but things happened and I just could not stick with it. So my word of the year for 2016 has been health. I choose a word of the year instead of doing New Year's resolutions. And I was determined to get my health back on track. I'm diabetic and I have asthma, and I've had a few issues here or there, mostly caused by stress. And I wanted to make sure that I got all that stuff out of control. And I started in January wanting to lose weight. Now, I don't feel like I need to lose, every single pound that I have. And I'm not doing it for any other reason except I want to. I want to get off diabetes medication, and I know that the only way to really put my diabetes into remission is to get some weight off and get off all the insulin. They're kind of teeter-tottering each other. I don't know, counterbalancing. The more insulin I take, the more heavier I am, and then it's just like this spiral. So I started that in January, and from the very beginning, I've always said that it was never going to be about that number on the scale. It was going to be about the number on the meter, and that was going to be my main focus. And I completely lost track of that. I wanted to weigh in for you guys every week, and I started focusing on that number, and it didn't help that sometimes I would get comments about how big I am and I should be losing weight on the weeks that I gained, and on the weeks that, it just made no sense. Sometimes I would be eating great and I would gain weight, I would be eating poorly, I would lose weight, and I dreaded weighing every week, and it just got to be where I was done. I was done. I didn't want to do it anymore. That, coupled with the fact that I slipped into probably the worst depression I've had. I've been diagnosed for a little over a year, but March into April was very scary for me. I was taking Lexapro. I started Lexapro like last fall, and in March and into April, I just stopped feeling anything. And I don't know how else to describe it, but I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel scared. I didn't care. Like, I felt absolutely nothing. And I didn't care about anything. I didn't care about my job. I didn't care about my marriage. I didn't care about... I just didn't care. I just didn't care about so much. And most of all, I didn't care about my diabetes. I stopped testing. I used to test 8 times a day, before and after every meal, plus morning and nighttime. I stopped doing that. I stopped taking my overnight insulin. I stopped taking my regular insulin. The only thing I was taking were my pills, and that's because my husband would literally put them on my plate every night. I stopped cooking. We ate out a ton. It was just horrible. Looking back, it was horrible because of the lasting effects on my body. But living in the moment, I didn't care. And one of my friends was like, maybe you should just go cry it out. And I thought, you know what, let me try that. I could not cry. And that was the wake-up call for me, because I have always been able to at least cry it out, and I couldn't cry. Nothing made me sad. Nothing. And I got so mad, because that's when I realized that something was terribly wrong. And Rob and I had a huge fight, and because just life in general, and a wife that's depressed and doesn't want to do anything, or do anything around the house. I didn't want to cook. I didn't want to go anywhere. I didn't want to talk to him. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to do videos. I just didn't want to do anything. And so I just knew that it was time to make a change. So the 1st of May, called my doctor and told one of the receptionists that, hey, I really think I need to see my doctor. I'm having issues with depression and anxiety. Can you get me in? And she was like, no, you need to have a physical first. And I was like, you need to come in for fasting blood work. And I was like, no, I'm not coming in for fasting blood work. Number one, I was going to the endocrinologist 2 days later. I was like, no. And I said, is that the only way I can get an appointment? And she said, yes. I was like, crap. So I went to my endocrinologist in May, and my A1C was 12.9. Yes, 12.9. And he's like, what happened? And I said, I haven't cared. And I was just completely and openly honest with him. Probably more honest than I've been with a doctor in a really long time. I was like, I just don't care. I haven't cared. And he's like, are you going to fix that? I was like, I'm trying to get in to see my doctor to get my meds changed. And in this time, everybody's like, you need a therapist. And I'm like, yes, I agree. So I started contacting therapists in my area. Everybody in a 3-town radius that took my insurance, I think 16 is the total number that I finally called. Nobody called me back. Nobody. So here I am, I'm desperately trying to seek help. I'm calling my primary care physician. They're not letting me in. I'm trying to find a therapist. None of that is working. I called again 2 weeks later in the middle of May and was like, I need to see him because of my depression. And she's like, oh, we have an opening. And then I was like, okay, great. And then she called me the next day. She's like, oh, I'm sorry. We were overbooked. He can't see you. And I was like, oh my word. So finally, a therapist called me back, and he could see me that day, and it was like meant to be. And I say that sometimes, and it was meant to be. And he and I said the same thing. We're on the same page. He's absolutely amazing. We're working on me before we tackle some of the other issues that he feels like I may have. And we have a great relationship. It was funny, our very first meeting, he asked me a lot of questions about me, and then he was like, what do you want to know about me? And I said, nothing. And he's like, what do you mean, nothing? I was like, well, I said, I believe in fate. And I said, I called 16 other therapists, and not a single one of them called me back, and you did. So I said, obviously, I'm meant to see you. And it was meant to be. I don't know how else to describe it. You can believe it if you want to believe it. You don't have to if you don't want to. I totally get it. But I feel like it was completely meant to be. Sorry, I'm trying to check the time because this card doesn't have much room on it. So he's like, have you changed your medicine yet? And I'm like, no. I said, I cannot get in to see my doctor. I said, I'm tempted to have you call and tell him he needs to see me. So he's like, well, just call one more time. So this was like the week before Memorial Day. And I called and I said, are there any openings? And she goes, well, what's wrong? And I said, I have a sinus infection. Immediate appointment. I'm not even lying. Immediate appointment. Now, there could have been, some openings or something like that. But I was pissed. I was pissed, and I went to that doctor's office. It was on a Friday, and I was ready to fight. And he's like, what's the matter? And he walked in, and he looked like he had aged 10 years. And I had just seen him in February. And I was like, what is the matter with you? And he's like, I've been so busy. He's like, what's the matter with you? I said, I've been so depressed. And I said, I've tried on 3 different occasions to get an appointment. And I said, today I got an appointment because I lied and said I have a sinus infection. So he's like, you don't have a sinus infection? I said, I may get one next week. I was like, no. I said, I need to try a new antidepressant. And I went through this whole spiel with him like I just went with you. And he and I have that type of relationship where we don't sugarcoat with each other. And we say what we mean and we mean what we say. And, he's like, well, I was like, is there some kind of conspiracy that you don't want to see me? And he was like, absolutely not. He's just been really busy, blah, blah, blah. So he put me on Wellbutrin. And what's funny is I started Wellbutrin and my endocrinologist put me back on Victoza because I had tried that before. And he's like, you want to try it again? I'm like, I'll try anything. Well, the 2 of them together, they were both developed to help people lose weight. And holy cannoli, I haven't lost a ton of weight, and we'll get to that in just a minute, but it has been the most amazing appetite suppressant ever, which is great because I'd gone to him a few times and said, can I get an appetite suppressant? And he was like, oh, I took Fen-Phen when I was in high school. Some of you may know what that is and some of you don't. And I do have some mild damage to my mitral valve, so he's very hesitant to put me on anything that may cause more damage, and an antidepressant is normally speed, basically. So anyway, but the Wellbutrin and the Victoza together worked. In 1 week, and this, I don't know, in 1 week, my blood sugars went from being 450 to like 90 to 120 in 1 week. Now, I did change my diet because when I got on the Wellbutrin, I felt again. It's so crazy. I felt again. And I remember it was probably 3 weeks into it, and I cried. And I was like, Rob's like, what's the matter? I was like, I'm crying. I'm experiencing emotion. And I had some emotional up and down, and I appreciate every single one of them because you don't realize what you take for granted when you don't feel anything. So even though I have my bouts where I'm crying at my desk, or something makes me angry or anything like that, at least I'm experiencing emotion. So that's kind of where I am on this mental health journey. I have the right therapist and I have the right medication, and our goal together is to get me back off that medication. So that's for that. For the weight, I decided in May. My sister-in-law came for a visit in April, and she's very much into fitness. She's a bodybuilder, and she was here for 2 weeks, and a week, and she exercised every day. She had her protein. She was on the ball, and she and I were talking about it because we drove up to Oklahoma. And she said, stop weighing every week. She's like, you don't really have to. She's like, weigh in once a month. And I was like, dang, just weigh in once a month. So that's what I've been doing. In May, I weighed in at 418. In June, I weighed in at 418. Because even though I saw my endocrinologist in May, I didn't really start doing anything until June, because that's when I got on the Wellbutrin. So in June, I weighed 418. The 1st of July, I weighed 413. And the 1st of August, I'm at 409. So basically about 5 pounds a month, which is it's not huge by any means, but at least it's going down. And I just went to see my endocrinologist last week for my 3-month checkup. So in May, I think it was May 4th, my A1C was 12.9. And on August 4th, my A1C was 8.6. So I am so excited. I did see a new endo. I'm not really excited about it. I go to a clinic, so sometimes it's, a crapshoot who I'm going to see. This one, I didn't really care for, but she let me decide if I wanted to stay with stick with the same meds, those kinds of things. And I said, yes, it's working. Let me continue. So we've been swimming a lot. That's been helping. I've been eating as low carb as possible. And I know a lot of people are like, no carb, blah, blah, blah. Whatever works for you, works for you. And for me, seriously, I went from 450 blood sugars to 90 to 120 by eating meat and vegetables. And I don't eat fruit unless I am having a low, or I feel like I'm going to have a low. Instead of grabbing for candy or for soda, I eat a piece of fruit. And I keep nectarines and sometimes watermelon. We bought a watermelon this weekend, and Rob ended up dropping it, and it was not ripe anyway. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So yeah, I'm trying to rush. So that's where I've been. Posh got put on the back burner. This channel got pushed way back on the back burner. And I just feel like I'm finally starting to get my life back. Rob and I are doing much better. I'll go see my therapist, and then I come home and we talk about it. There's been a couple of times where we've talked about something that I haven't been completely comfortable with sharing with Rob right away, which is crazy because he's my husband. But sometimes I have to deal with things myself and kind of go, oh crap, that's right, or I didn't realize that, or I didn't see it that way, and I have to take a couple of days to process, and then he and we talk about it, because I find I want to be as open and honest as him as possible, because he is the love of my life, and I plan on being married to him for the next 50 years. In order to do that, we've got to maintain a strong relationship. So we are doing much better. So yay for that. So all in all, a really positive update for you guys. Like I said, I'm weighing in once a month. So you will see weigh-ins only once a month. Posh Talk maybe every Thursday, maybe every other Thursday. I am going to try to throw in some other content in between that, because I don't want you guys to only see me, once or twice a month. I'm going to try to do some cooking videos. We'll see. I am about 2 weeks behind schedule for my Jolly Fat Elf and Stampin' Up, and I've taken on some design work, and I'm trying to get a website going, and it's about to be back to school for, where I work, and so it's been a little crazy. So yeah. So anyways, thank you so much for, there's 600 of you guys. Thank you so much for those of you who are new. Thanks to you, those of you who have been here for a while and wondering where I've been. Yeah, I appreciate you. So if you're interested in keeping up with me, other than the couple of videos I get posted here, you can follow me on all social media. I'm the Jolly Fat Elf pretty much everywhere, even Snapchat, which I haven't started using yet, so it's different. You can also follow me on the Jolly Fat Elf at YouTube. That's kind of my main channel. I tend to really only share what's going on in my life during my plan with me's. The rest of it's more kind of business, because I am a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and that's my business, and Perfectly Posh, which is also my business. So yeah, guys, I love you. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, leave them down in the description box below. Comments, not description box. Leave a comment down below if you want to. Thumbs up this video if you want to. Thank you for sticking it out with me. I really appreciate you, and I'll see you real soon. Bye for now.